We survived. Look, we have just ticked off probably our biggest bucket list item, which is our adventure to Cape York. Travelling 4 years full time now. It was the one thing that always was off in the distance, I think because we were so nervous, but we also didn't really have, I think, the capability in our vehicles.
That's right. Well, up until recently,
That's
of course.
right. And the nerves, though, personally, because you see all that stuff on YouTube and you just think, what are these people doing to spend all that money on their vehicles and then take it to the Cape and end up, needing to hire a flatbed truck?
Yeah, not good. And look, we spoke to plenty of people in our preparation to do the Cape, and we were still so nervous, even after having committed to go and do it, now that we are in the zone, the sojourn, and of course the trusty 79 that we love so much. And so many people said to us, where are you leaving your van?
Yeah.
There's all these roadhouses on the way.
There would be a half a dozen points on the way up, once you really leave the safety of Cooktown or even Cairns and the Atherton tablelands, that kind of suggests to you, maybe I should be leaving my van. And as you go up, more and more people are leaving their vans at these roadhouses. And as you hit the corrugations, you can see why. For a lot of these people, it's for good reason. But we thought, no, let's do it. Let's get all the way to the tip. And I think what we really wanted to do was share some of the adventure, some of the tips that we've taken away from it, and some of the ideas that maybe help you get out of your comfort zone, because that really was what it was about for us, was stretching ourselves and our capabilities to really meet the capabilities of the vehicles. Because after we've done this now, 2 weeks of what is like the ultimate touring of Australia, we know that the vehicles are more than capable. It was really about us getting out of our comfort zone.
That's so true. Never should have been a question over whether or not the vehicles would make it up safely, because they're built for that sort of off-road terrain and touring. It was more a question about whether we had the nerve, were we brave enough to give it a go. And we're so thankful that we did, because it's like nowhere else we've been in our 4 years on the road, and plenty of highlights. Yeah,
and there are a few things that we will share with you now that may help just give you that little bit of extra confidence to take your rig and get yourself up there to experience these incredible landscapes and these remote locations and these communities. Okay, first thing that we would really share is your tyres, your tyre maintenance. It is really key to whether or not you have a successful trip or not. For us, we're normally running 38 PSI as far as the pressure in our tyres. That's from cold. And we dropped them down to 25 PSI. Now, that was exactly the same on the 79. We actually, before we left, we installed a tyre pressure monitoring system.
Yep.
And so the truck having 25, the van having 25 PSI, it was a very easy management system for us. Now, you'd have to really look at your tyres and your own rig and work this out for yourself. But as a starting point, a good bit of advice from an instructor, four-wheel drive instructor that we also travelled with, said, just make sure it's under 30 PSI, because if you're going to have a puncture on some of these sharp rocks or these tree roots that are sticking out on the OTT, the old telegraph track, it's going to be because your pressure's too high. So you want to use really the sidewalls and those tyres to really mould around some of that terrain. And that was great advice, because we had no problem at all, not an issue. And a good way that was explained to us is that it really is the first line of suspension. So it first of all cushions those, hectic corrugations. They really are, aren't they?
Oh, look, they varied. We had all sorts of road conditions, from, some that were just dirt, gravel roads that weren't too bad, to others that absolutely shook the life out of us and the
cheese
vehicles.
And crackers out of you.
Yes.
Oh my Lord,
yes.
It goes through you. If you had dentures, you want to use extra glue.
There certainly were times where we got out and thought, jeepers, we know we've got to travel back down. Once we get to the top, we've got to come back that way.
What goes up must come down. But yeah, getting that tyre pressure right, and then the suspension does its job, and then here's some, some overlay footage. We put some GoPros inside the van, under the van on the suspension. But check this out, it really blew our minds how nothing in the van moves. I mean, these corrugations, though, they're still there, and the vibrations are intense. I mean, we had Vegemite jar lid completely come off and flip over. You know, I mean, so there's definitely that sort of harmonic vibration going through things. It is remarkable what can happen, but everything was still in its place. We'd open the door and we're like, wow, okay.
It was such
Amazing.
not a surprise, but it was so refreshing to be able to open the door at the end of each day's travel and know that we weren't going to be faced with, you know, spills from things having fallen out of cupboards, or literally nothing moved inside the van, and we got some great footage inside the van. The only thing that moves is the swing tag on the fire extinguisher above the door. And to know that when you open that door and you're not going to be faced with mounds of surprises, yes, nasty surprises.
Stuff out of the fridge.
Or even the intake of red dirt. I mean, this is the dustiest, dirtiest environment we've ever toured through. You cannot get away from it.
It is so fine. It permeates not only your skin, which Jasper, you know, certainly shared with everyone, but it just gets into everything. So, yeah, as you say, to open the van and it be dust-proof was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big claim to say, you know, our vans and the mode canopy, they're built to be dust-free. But to actually go and do an adventure like this and see that in action and open the door at the end of the day and know that we've still got our beautiful, clean, luxurious living quarters to retreat to after a full day exploring was just amazing.
Such a gift. The other thing that we would share is to make sure that you pack appropriately. So anything heavy, just get it down low. I mean, you know, you got that pendulum. Anything that you leave up high, you are running the risk of, you know, things getting damaged or things flying out. So pack low.
We generally do that anyway, living full-time on the road, but we certainly rejigged quite a lot of things inside the van specifically for this Cape trip, knowing, okay, we're going to have that constant 450 kilometres of dirt, corrugated roads. So packing in and around things like your glasses and anything that may be a bit more fragile as well.
Another thing, we wanted to take the Weber, and we've got the barbecue slide, which is fantastic, but we just couldn't figure out how to strap it down and still manage it safely. And then we worked out that we could run
Genius idea, Del.
Thank you. Should just rewind that and play that a few times.
Genius idea.
Thank you, babe. Where I was able to double strap basically that in around the length of the slide, and that held it in place perfectly.
I think the point is just taking a little bit of time to prepare properly for a trip like this, whether it's the Cape that you're doing or the Gib that we get to do, but now we're a little bit more excited about doing that.
Confidence now, we've got confidence.
That's right, knowing that things are going to move, and as Tony, the four-wheel drive instructor, said to us, you can't underestimate these corrugations. No. Things will move and shift and change just because of the nature of the corrugations.
Absolutely, and a good question to answer that kept coming in through our YouTube channel was, well, once you hit the bitumen, I mean, there's a point between Archer River where, you know, a majority of people travelling up with large rigs will leave their van there because it's kind of like, you know, the last point of no return before it really gets full on. But then there's 100 kilometres of probably the best bitumen road in the whole Cape York Peninsula. And then there's 100 kilometres after that of pretty full on, shake your bones through corrugation into Weeper. And it was, do we then air back up for that bitumen section? And do you constantly chop and change your pressures? From our four-wheel drive instructor, the answer was no. You can leave those pressures at 25 psi from cold and they will handle that bitumen absolutely fine. What we were recommended to do was to not travel over 85 kilometres per hour on the bitumen once those pressures are down. And that's exactly what we stuck to. We really did take it easy. You just drive to the conditions. And even at our fastest speed on the corrugations would have been 70, 75 at a push. I mean, there are plenty of people that are flying past you, you know, that are just Absolutely, just got to get to the top, got to get the photo with the sign, and and then get back. And that's possibly time restrictions, but we would say just plan well, take your time, drive to the conditions.
And find your sweet spot on the
Yes.
corrugations, because everybody's will be different.
Yep.
You don't want to go too slow because you'll feel every single one of them, but you also don't want to go too fast because that's when it becomes unsafe. So getting the right speed to almost sit on top of them as much as possible with your vehicle is key to the enjoyment of driving on those conditions, hey?
Absolutely. Now, the next part of this, equation for us as far as our nerves before we actually hit the road was the Jardine River ferry crossing.
Yes.
We've heard people absolutely bending chassis and taking off their rear bumpers and all sorts of damage to their vans.
Particularly with the bigger rigs.
Yep.
Smaller rigs and camper trailers and things like that, no issue at all. But because there is quite an angle to get down to that river, depending on the level, the water level of the river, everybody that we spoke to who we told, we're taking it right to the top, said to us, oh, I don't know, you've got a pretty big rig, be careful on that ferry.
And what you realise once you get up there is that there's plenty of other people with big rigs that have done this.
Yeah.
And again, it's really just being prepared and taking your time. With the airbags on our van, we were able to basically air completely up and give us, another 2 or 3 inches, which was the perfect clearance. And then the first time going on, I really went on a little bit too fast, and we hit the safety chains just on the bottom of the ferry. And the local guys there that were operating the ferry, with their big, almost like Papua New Guinean smiles, weren't they? They were like, slow down, take it easy, bro.
Yeah.
And then that was fine. I think I was just nervous, never having done it. On the way back,
Piece of cake, we weren't worried at all.
Absolute breeze. So it really is just building your confidence through the experience that makes this just so enjoyable, where you're just high-fiving at the end of the day, aren't you?
Yeah, it really is. There's something special about standing at that most northern tip of Australia, at the sign, getting your family photo, and that sense of accomplishment, of achievement, that, you've come this far, and it hasn't just been a leisurely stroll on the blacktop to get here. You've been through rough conditions to get to this
I've
point.
endured.
Yes.
Look, there's some really amazing highlights. We'll fly through now, but Chili Beach.
Oh, anywhere over in that Iron Range
Wow.
National Park on the east coast is just incredible, with that lush rainforest just dripping with life. It is just so different from anywhere else on the Cape.
Loyalty Beach, where we
Yes,
camped.
up at Seisha.
Fantastic. Off-grid camping, just on the beach there, or just off the beach, but just absolutely stunning.
Yep.
And then that's your base, really, to go and get your signs shot as well.
Yes, and day trip, of course, over to Thursday Island, which was just beautiful and a great way to spend a day exploring that little tropical paradise.
And then there's all the waterfalls. I mean, these are as good as the pictures you see on Instagram and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning. It's the only thing that we would change is that we would have spent more time, like a day at each of these falls.
Yes.
Because there's nothing like it. I mean, even some of the falls that we went to in the Northern Territory, God, Queensland's got it all, haven't they,
It is just beautiful, and being so remote, and coming across these gems that are just there for you to enjoy. It's just awesome.
Last bit of advice.
Okay.
I think just back yourself. Your vehicles are more than capable, but you are more than capable as well. It's get yourself out of your comfort zone, because that is where the real adventure of life is. That is where the juice is, and that is where you get to have these experiences that make you feel like you can conquer the world. And when you've got your rig like this, I mean, you've got the best compliment to be able to experience this in the rugged, remote landscapes that the Cape offers, and then you come back to your studio apartment on wheels.
Oh, it's luxury.
It is such a luxury. It is such a gift to be able to feel like you're in the thick of the adventure, and then come back, stick the Starlink on the roof, watch some Netflix,
Just awesome.
watch some YouTube. So good.